Yeah. And we're about to start Lyrics on Fire, this month's edition of MusicTT's Reverb. And we're going to get into some songwriting and so forth. Yeah. So hopefully at the end of this all, we're going to have some ideas about songs and lyrics. But before we get into all of that, let me introduce myself. I am Omari Ashby, excuse me. An adjunct lecturer in the Carnival Studies Unit, the Department for Creative and Festival Arts at UWI. I'm also the CEO of Saga Boy Culture, which is my t-shirt company here. And we do some really cool stuff. And I'm also the manager for Charlon Bailey, a young, exciting musician. And I'm telling you all the various things that I undertake so that later on in the session, you'll get an understanding of some of the things I'm saying. So we just want to set some, not so much rules, but some ideas. I want to say that this is not the roadmap to songwriting. It's a roadmap to songwriting. This is also not how you make hits, right? Because if I knew how to make hits all the time, I would be home making hits. So this is really just to get you to a point where if you're writing already, you can kick your game up a little bit. And if you just started to write, you have some signs in the road as to the possibilities of what you can do. So I'm excited about this because it helps me to share some of the things I have encountered along the way, and hopefully I can get some info as well, because I always learn when I'm doing these things. Yeah. So so hello, Stephen, Maria, Mark, and all you other guys out there. Let's start sharing. Yeah, we're gonna get into it immediately. We started a little late. But sometimes the bugs come out, but they can't stop us, because this is about being creative. It's about writing. It's about getting these ideas that you have in your head out in the correct way. Yeah. So we're gonna start off with the 4 steps to songwriting. Yeah. And the first step really is I am sending you out there to be nosy, to be amako. Right? You have to look for the story. Look for the story wherever you can find it. It's important that you look for the story, because that is the beginning of every good song. Yeah? So what do I mean? Listen, in the newspaper, on the radio, everywhere, you read a story in the paper. Husband files a missing wife report. 3 days later, she shows up. She was at a music concert for 3 days. That's a song, right? And it's an idea that you can take in so many directions, Maybe you can write a song about the longest concert in the world. Maybe you can write a song about the missing wife. There's so many things. And then of course you look at your own life experiences. Yeah. I often tell the story of my childhood dreams of becoming a professional tennis player. And when I was just 2 weeks into lessons, they signed me up for a competition. And so they put me in this competition. And I think I had the luck to draw the #1 seed in the competition. Well, to tell you that it was an embarrassment is an understatement. And just to be clear, it was an embarrassment for me, right? Because I didn't think I hit one ball. And so there's a song in there. So I could have gone home and written a song about not giving up, or being determined, or maybe getting licks, But there's several stories that are in that experience. And what about traveling? Sometimes you're on public transport, maybe you're driving. Things you pick up. I always remember me and a friend of mine, we would say, we wouldn't say normal, we would say normal. And you hear that, and then it became a slang, and you started hearing it, and then boom, there's a song, normal. And so it's just the idea of taking this slang, taking this thing you might have heard and building on it, you know? So definitely, yes. As a songwriter, you need to live on the corner house. You need to be nosy. You need to be cautious. You need to be observant. Everything is a song, you know? Everything. When you wake up in the morning, things your children say to you, things you might say to your parents, things that happen in school, things that happen at work, everything is an opportunity to write. So make sure and look for the song. And I remember asking a couple of people, you know, I like to speak to songwriters and musicians and find out about their experiences. And I remember thinking, listen, how did you come up with that idea? And I remember asking maybe David Rudder once, you know, about, he had this line where he was speaking to graduating from Redmond School, you know. This young lady called Susie Koo, she says she just graduated from Redmond School. And it's something somebody had told him, somebody, if I'm not mistaken, might have been Ozzy, speaking to him, tell him that this, you know, and this line stuck with him. And next thing you know, it's in our song. And that's how it happens. The very best of us find our inspiration in looking for the story. Yeah. So that's the first thing. Already we good, eh? We already, as songwriters, we are the first. As a matter of fact, we could stop now and you could go and write a song. No, let's continue. Right? You're looking at common themes. This is so important in songwriting. And let me tell you why. The relatability of a song is half the battle. So you have certain common themes. Love. And when we say love, what we're talking about, not just the love you might be thinking about, which is I am falling in love. And of course, there are several million songs probably about falling in love, but it's also about love lost, love found, unrequited love, love for the family, right? So when Sizzler says, thank you, mama, for the 9 months you carry me, the common theme there is love. He's expressing his gratefulness and love for his mother, right? Or what about love lost, right? Somebody like Shadow, the mighty Shadow, in You're Looking for Horn, is about to express the idea that you're going to lose that love, right? So, and there's also unrequited love, you know what I mean? And this might be a little for the younger audience, you need to probably go and look up this, but Barry Manilow had a song called My Eyes Adored You, right? And in My Eyes Adored You, he's speaking about this woman that he never really expressed it to. Yeah. So you have that common thing. I promise I'll get some more younger references as we go along. So we had to spread it out, right? For the people who grain like me and for the younger people, right? There's coming of age, personal growth, you know, that coming of age, we're talking personal growth, changes, self-exploration, nostalgia. And these themes go a long way. Nostalgia, you know, you remember when this used to happen. One of the best we have in that is Bring Back Those Long Time Days by one of the master songwriter and producer, Nappy Mears, Richard Nappy Mears. So he's talking about Trinidad in a nostalgic way, but there's also the time for personal growth, you know, and there's lots of songs about personal growth. Just think about Patrice's I'm a Big Girl Now. Yeah. She is establishing that she's not this little girl who came into the industry. Put some respect on the name, you know, and so that idea of coming of age in so many different areas, you have these songs. And then of course there's death. Which is another universal thing. And when the Notorious B.I.G. got shot, you had Puff Daddy, is that his name now? P. Diddy, I don't know, but Sean Puffy Combs doing his take on things, Every Breath You Take, with I'm Missing You, right? Bungee Garden has one, If I'm Never Gonna See Your Face, by Zion's Gate. And so there are a lot of people who explore that topic. One of the best is Tears in Heaven from Eric Clapton. You know, it shouldn't matter your age for that one. You need to know Eric Clapton if you're in music, right? But look it up, yeah? But it's a beautiful song about that. And then there's also Rebellion, you know, and Rebellion comes in all forms. Those of us who are parents, the teenagers would know it in teenage angst. But there's also real rebellion against societal expectation. Yeah. So when you have the idea of going against what the society respects, you know, a rebel, and almost every generation has its rebels in terms of the kind of music they would bring forward. Societal expectation. You have a man like Mr. Sharp, right, doing Rogue and all these kind of Bois and these kind of songs. That is a kind of rebellious song. Yeah. So it's one of the themes that you can lose. And then of course, disillusion. Who hasn't been disillusioned? Social justice, you have activism, and of course you have young artists dealing with that. You have artists who from Coffee, Protege, locally. You have Garland touches it. You have Mr. Bailey, who I manage, Sharon. You have, I mean, so many artists dealing with these kind of issues of disillusion. Sometimes, you know, you look at it and you can't believe that is what's happening in the world around you, and you put pen to paper. And these are some common themes. Now, these are not the only themes, and some people might say, well, what about funny songs? What about humorous songs? And I often tell people, humor is so important in writing. Yeah, humor is one of the things that really could push a song over the edge. But humor is not so much a theme as it's a tool. So for instance, you can have a love song that has humor in it. You could have a coming of age song that has humor in it. You could even have a death song that has humor in it, right? Rebellion that has humor in it. So humor is more of a tool that you use in your writing rather than a theme or a category of song. Although sometimes we look at it like that. But strictly, if you think about it, you realize that it's just something you can employ while writing that song. So we have common themes, yeah? If you get your theme right, this is one thing I wanted to note. If you get your theme right, you can have a hit for the ages. So for instance, your theme is love, and you decide to do a song called It's Our Anniversary. Well, guess what? Raphael Sadiq and Tony did that. And that song, I guarantee you, has already been played several times today and will be played again tomorrow and the day after that, somewhere in the world, simply because every day is somebody's anniversary. And so for him, the author of that song, living will be all right, because he picked a theme that is, one, universal, but two, has a reach that is unbelievable. Yeah. Another writer like that is Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie probably would have people dancing on the ceiling for quite a while, because again, it's celebration. And he would have picked a topic that is so universal that it translated throughout the world. So these are a couple of tips as we go along, as to what you can look out for. The other thing is rhyming scheme. Well, how that's important to Omari? Well, that is the most important thing, even if you decide not to rhyme, right? And there are a couple of different rhyming schemes, I should say. I'm only doing 2 here today because of time constraints, and I'm picking the two simplest ones. But you can explore them If you don't know what I'm speaking about, again, Google it, look up rhyming schemes, and you'll get from very simple to complicated. So we have what we call the AA, right? Where you find each line rhymes with the one before. And for the example I'm using, coffee's rapture. So coffee come in like a rapture, and everybody get captured. Place lift up like helicopter when they see the lyrics, when they see the lyrics contractor. So each last word in that example would have rhymed, right? To bring it home a little bit, let's think about Nadia, so long I see her. Hey, look who. You know how long me really see you? It could have been about a year or two. Call a drink now, what we go do. So again, each last word is the rhyming word. That's a basic AA thing. And then we have the other one, which is AB, which is every other line. So David Michael Rudder told you, can you hear a distant drum bouncing on the laughter of a melody? Does the rhythm tell you, come, 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 come? Does your spirit do a dance to this symphony? So you have drum and come and melody and symphony. So it's A, B, A, B, right? It's pretty simple. This one is interesting from John Lennon, right? Imagine there are no countries, it isn't hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too, right? Now, the first and third lines don't rhyme, but the second and fourth do, right? So you see how you could switch up using that basic formula, switch up the rhyming scheme. Now, there are a lot more, especially when you get into different genres. If you start to look at genres like dancehall and hip hop, you're going to get rhymes inside of the lines and stuff, right? And for the people who are familiar with these kind of genres, you know what I'm speaking about, and you could try it out. But these two simple ones are really just for you to get an understanding of what I'm speaking to when I speak to rhyme schemes. And rhyming schemes are critically important as an author, right? Song structure. Again, this is not written in stone. I'm going to give you a basic song structure, and you can play with this, right? So the song structure is usually verse, chorus, bridge, coda, right? So you have verse, you start your verse. Your verse really tells the story of the song, yeah? So you get into the nitty gritty, you know what I mean? Met this girl, best girl ever, fall in love, ask her out, nice. And then the chorus comes up. The chorus, I had a theory, right, in my writing. I would say the verse is mine and the chorus is for the people. And by that, I mean your chorus ought to be catchy. It ought to be something singable. Sometimes it should have a hook so that people could sing. So the verse is mine. I express myself in the verse, and then I give the chorus to the people, right? So the chorus is, right, you know, found my new love. Yeah, yeah, yeah. People sing that, yeah, 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 right? Don't quote me on that song. Might be the best song, but I'm saying, right? So I found my new love, and we have the yeah, yeah, yeah answer happening there. So that's a chorus. Simple to sing. People will remember it. Easy to deal with. And then you could come back to your verse, chorus, and then you go to your bridge. What is the bridge about? A bridge really is to break the monotony of the song, to, you know, cull that boredom a little bit and to bring you back in. Normally after the bridge, you come back with a chorus and then your coda out. What is the coda? The coda is really just the part of the song that you repeat going out, yeah? So if you know there's a song and that has, you know, like in Carnival it might be, so jump and wave your hand, jump and until the engineer feels it, jump and wave your hand, and that goes out, that's your coda, repeating, going out there. So this is the basic song structure. This is not written in stone, this is a guide, as always. You can switch this up. But there's a reason this has worked for so long. You see, music doesn't happen in abstract, right? And by that I mean, popular music, and I don't just mean pop songs, I mean popular music anywhere, has a formula. And that formula is usually based on our human internal clock, right? So we all have rhythm, regardless of how badly you might think you dance. We all have rhythm, right? And that rhythm, our internal clock, is really our heart, and that kind of guides us more than we know. Which is why sometimes you listen to a song and you could almost tell where the chorus is going to happen, because it demands the chorus at that point in time. It's because we're counting on the beat and we know, right? So, and that's just one kind of timing signature we use, but that demands a certain thing. And so that is why that verse, chorus, bridge, coda thing works. It is not the only thing that works, right? But if you understand it, then you can break all those rules and go to town and become a really great songwriter. One of the things that I didn't go too deeply into here, because we are speaking to lyrics, but I want to mention it, is your melody, right? The melody of a song is critical because, and take this from me, I started off as a rap man. I started off doing more chanting styles. And so I always remember being in the studio and they would say, well, listen, what key is that? What key? It's like a talking key. But even when you speak, there's a key, right? And so once you have key, then melody becomes important. And so even if it's more of a talking style you do, particularly for us Trinis, right? We don't know how to say anything without singing, right? Somebody pass you, oh, good, right? So that's two notes, da, da, right? And immediately it's starting to something there. So your melody becomes important. And as you go along, your melody will almost jump out at you after a while, right? And melodies, listen, we only have so many melodies in the world, right? And the example I like to use is ABC, the ABC song, and Baba Black Sheep, right? And the same melody, right? A, B, C, D, Baba Black Sheep. And so what made the difference there? What made the difference was the words, right? So you see how the two things working together could be critical, right? Because you have one that is just teaching how to say the alphabet and one is telling a story, right? But the words is what made the melody seem a little different. One of the other pieces of advice I have for you if you're writing, regardless of whether you're hip hop, dancehall, R&B, soca, kaiso, whatever, is learn an instrument. Yeah? Guitar, keyboard, learn an instrument. You don't have to become an expert, but it really helps your writing, you know? And just start off maybe with 3 chords. Teach yourself 3 chords and then start to explore from there. Now, is the playing of an instrument or learning of an instrument necessary for songwriting? Absolutely not. Will it make you a better songwriter? I guarantee it. Yeah. So apart from the 4 things I told you, I also mentioned melody and getting an instrument. So do that and listen to me. You all have it so easy, right? Just pull up a tutorial and in 5 minutes, I guarantee you have 3 chords, right? Pick a song you like and play that song whole day. And after, hey, this is not so bad. I mean, you may not be Mozart after the first week, but you definitely be playing some stuff. So try it. Yeah. And yes, that's correct. I'm looking at some of the messages. Somebody is saying, can a bridge introduce a simple idea? Yes, a new simple idea. The bridge can also expand your story or bring it home. Yeah, so yes, Stephen, you're correct. So as we're moving on, I want to get to the other section, which is know your target. what are you speaking about, Omari? Well, what you're really talking to is who are you writing for? And this is where we start to look at the different markets. Where are you writing for? What genre and stuff? And why is that important? Because I have something that I use when I'm dealing with soca songs. When soca songs start to come out, now we have some really great writers in soca. And I know people will be like, what great writers? And yes, we do. Yeah. But there's some songs that every year you wonder, how did that become a hit? And that's because you have to understand horses for courses. Carnival is made up of several different layers. You have the layer that's Kaiso, social commentary, political, Picong, all this, and then you have festival music that is out there to make people dance. And then we who know soca know that there's also a road song, and that is designed for a particular thing. So when we're talking about a good song, you might say, that is not a good song, but what is it a good song for? And so I have a formula that I use to judge a party song in Carnival, right? And it has to do with the AT level. What is the AT level? I call it the alcohol threshold level. Yeah, and sometimes a song that might be really bad on a normal day, 2 or 3 beers in, might start to take on a different. And if somebody is skilled enough to understand, so for instance, let me give you a real life example, right? Do you want somebody who is in a carnival party having a good time? Do you want them to have to say something that's really complicated as the chorus? Or do you want them to say, hey, oi, right? And so the song with A and Oi might just be the better song for that target. Yeah? You understand what I'm getting at? I'm getting at you have to understand what you're writing for. And this is not to say that there aren't great lyrics in soca, because over the last, how many ever years you've been getting people doing great love songs, great songs about partying, great songs that have nothing to do with partying, but you could use in the party. So there's a range, right? And so, but also you have to understand. So for instance, Ufan has Blazing in Love, right? And this song is a beautiful love song, Blazing in Love. And, you know, it's a blazing kind of love. And she got me in a heat, you know, and lovely lyrics and stuff. But it is also a festival song. So what has to happen? There has to be a release. So then we have to go to the part that goes, yeah, cause we blazing in love. Yeah, cause we blaze. Because we need something to know. Yeah, dance too. So, and that is an understanding of your target. Yes, it's love. Yes, I'm expressing how you make me feel. But you know what? We had to get on in this party too, you know. So, understand courses for horses. Again, for instance, hip hop. Now, I'm an old hip hop head, right? I like, yeah, when they're talking hip hop with me, I had to talk from the start. And so, when I hear the youngsters, Uzi and Migos and some of these guys, it's a bit much for me to take, but I understand it. And here why I understand it. Whereas before we were into lyrics, so when Nas or Jay-Z or those guys and them come down with lyrics, right, yeah, that you know, real spitters, real verse, we get that. But you also have to take into consideration now, it may not be so much about lyrics for this generation. You know what it might be about? It might be about that flow and the melody, right? And so what becomes important is not so much what they're saying, but how they're saying it. So again, if you know you're writing for a younger hip-hop artist, the mumble rap crowd now, if you know you're writing for that, then you mightn't want to be spitting so much lyrics. You may want to focus on your melody. So an artist or writer like Swaley, his melodies are really interesting. Half the time I don't know what he's saying, but I also understand that song is not made for me. But I still love the melodies. So he is a good writer. Yeah, arguably one of the best writers for his generation, I think. Yeah, because his melodies are really strong. Granted, who knows what he's talking about? But it works as a song. So again, horses for horses, right? Or horses for courses. We need to understand and know your target, who you're writing for, what it, again, dancehall. Dancehall has its own approach of how to write, of what you're saying, of how you're saying it, you know? And so whereas another thing might be, like I've always remembered in reggae, Bob Marley not being able to say certificate. Right? You would say certificate. And in another music, you'd have to say, well, listen, Bob, let's go for that again, certificate. But because it's reggae and it's a kind of vibesy music, certificate, let's go, moving on, right? And so you have to know your genre again, because you have genres. Sometimes the word is not right, but it's vibesy. Yeah? So we have to understand that. Yeah. All right. We're getting some questions here. I'm seeing your questions, and I'm going to come to them as we go along. We have a little section for questions, so I'm going to go over them and get to them. So I'm not ignoring you, but we'll be coming to your questions soon. This is big, right? This one, collaboration, right? Collaboration is so important at so many different levels. Collaboration, and by that I mean, when you look at the hit songs right now and you look to see who wrote it, sometimes you see as many. I've seen a song with about 15 writers. Yeah, and you wonder, wow, to write that song, really 15, all you come up with that? But that is how it is right now. And why is that important? It's important for a couple of reasons. They have, of course, with everything, they have advantages and they have disadvantages. Here are some of the advantages with that kind of collaborative writing. You can have 100% of $10, or you can have 10% of $10,000. Which you would prefer to have? So you might own your entire song and it's mine, but nobody knows it, nobody's hearing it, it's not earning. Or you can collaborate and boom, people start to hear it, it's getting plays, so now you have a 15% share in $1 million song. Or you could go back to your 100% share in a $1 song. Right, that's one of the advantages, right? The potential to earn. Another advantage is a saying we have: steel sharpens steel, iron sharpens iron, right? So when you're collaborating, people have different styles, and so you start to take and give, and so there's an energy. And I firmly believe that music is about people coming together. Music on the whole. As a producer, I could sit down and do an entire song on my own by myself. I prefer not to do that. Because for me, music is about your contribution, my contribution, the bass man. I love when people come with the energies and it mixes up. For me, that's the best of music, right? So that idea of working together is great. What are some of the disadvantages? Some of the disadvantages are that same split, if you're not the big writer on that song, it's hardly ever shared equally, right? So if 10 only write the song, you could still end up with a 0.5%, while everybody else, based on your stature and where you are. Also, if you're not too much, like now what I'm speaking to is also this idea of writing camps and stuff, right? So there are these camps where they bring in writers, and we sit around a table and they have different rooms, and we're peeling out songs, 10, 12 songs a day. Sometimes stuff happens where a guy comes in and he says, she shouldn't have done that. He put in those 2 lines and he's gone. The line works, but you're a person like to, collaborate with people and work, but he's gone and you don't know if he's coming back. But he made his contribution to the song. The chorus is now perfect. But you're feeling like, this is so mercenary. It's like he come and just pelt something at the song and so for people who kind of deal in a more organic fashion, it could be a little shocking when you have this kind of almost, just filing out song after song. So it's a bit much, but the reality is the majority of music today is done in that collaborative way, right? So you could either, if the writing comes a bit much for you, you could have a writing team. And a lot of times, the writing team is good because you get to know this person, the person gets to know you, and you all have one person sometimes is the lyrics person, one person is the melody, but it's always good. 2 heads are definitely better than one. And in modern music, sometimes 30 heads. Yeah? So these camps and teams are pretty commonplace now. And it's not hard to do based on technology. Whereas before, if all of us would have to be here, it doesn't work like that anymore. We could write from all over the world, right? I'm still seeing your questions. I'm going to try to get to all of them, right? So that's why I'm trying to push along. I'm going to ask, can I steal back the 7 minutes? Can I, Mariella? Still, okay, so we're gonna, I'm trying to go through everything pretty quickly. How do songwriters make money? How? See that C there? Copyright, so important. And I'm going to go through this quickly because I want to get to the questions, but you can shoot, for more detailed information, you can shoot them to me at omariashby@gmail.com, right? And I'll answer your questions too. So here we go. Copyright. Now, copyright exists from inception. So from the time you get the idea, right? And from the time, not just get the idea, but from the time you put it in a tangible form, and for music, that would be either writing it down or, you record it in your voice as a voice note, or you record it right? From the time it has become, that idea has become tangible, you're protected. But you have to be able to prove that. And so that's where registration comes in. Because although protection is immediate, before a court, you have to now be able to prove that you're the person who came up with that idea. Yeah? So bear that in mind when you're thinking about copyright. Now, copyright is a collection of rights automatically invested in you once you create an original work. And copyright, that bundle of rights, you have 2 sets of rights. You have what we call moral rights, which we're not going to get into today because we're dealing with how to secure the bag. And you have economic rights. And this is where you earn your money by exploitation of those economic rights. Yeah? And these economic rights would fall broadly under these 4 categories. Mechanical royalties. Every time a legal copy of a song is made, you're receiving a royalty. So what does that mean? Back in the times of the dinosaurs, that would refer to record sales, cassettes, CDs. Now, you're talking about downloads, some kinds of streams, and I know Chromatics kind of covered some of that, so I won't go into detail about the song aggregators and all, right? Because you could just go and look at that webinar, right? So yeah, so you have these mechanical royalties that speaks to physical copies or digital copies being made. Performance royalties. Whenever a songwriter's song is performed in public, she or she will receive. Now, when we say perform, it's not only like an actual performance of the person doing the song, but if it's played on the radio, if it's played in a public space, that kind of stuff. And that is where your collection agencies, which you're going to touch on in a little bit, comes in, right? Because some places, like for instance in Trinidad, if you have a business place that is playing music for public consumption, then you have to get a license from one of the collection agencies that are registered with the Ministry of Legal Affairs and so forth, right? Else you will be in breach of the law, right? Sync fees, synchronization fees that is granted by the song owner or writer. So syncing, that will have to do with everything from your video games, movies, that kind of stuff, which are pretty lucrative if you could get into that, right? It's not easy, but it's one of the ways you earn. And then by advances. Now this, I have to separate for our market and then the international market. So generally, a publisher is an organization or person that would essentially look for work for your song. One of the things I should have said earlier, is that singer-songwriter don't always go together. A lot of times the writer is not the singer, although sometimes it is. And so in order for the writer to get in touch with the singer sometimes the publisher does that, right? The publisher essentially is supposed to look for work for your material. That is not to say you can't be your own publisher, right? But we'll get into that. So the publisher sometimes sees value in a writer and would hire you or sign you to a writing contract. And in this signing, you would get an advance. Of course, please understand this. An advance means that money, that upfront money, has to be recouped before you receive any further royalties. So while advances are great, you have to bear that in mind, that it is not just, this is money against future earnings, right? In Trinidad and in some other jurisdictions, this advance really is about when people say, I'm going and buy a song, right? So this person is giving you some money to be able to be the only one that is going to record that song for a stipulated time. Yeah. So when you say you've sold a song, you've not really sold that song. You've not given up your rights to get royalties on that song. This person is just giving you a payment to be the person that will use the song sometime, and the time period could be determined, right? Yeah, 6 months, whatever. So it means then that if I sold a song to the Mighty Sofoot, the Mighty Sofoot would say, well, listen, I have these 6 months where I am the only person can record and release this song, right? After that, it goes again. Now, this is a good lesson for me to jump off in terms of understanding territories, understanding who you're giving your rights to use your intellectual property in what way. And by that, I simply mean I can have various territories. So I can say, well, listen, for the UK, I give you the license for this song. But for France and the rest of Europe, I give it to X person. And then for the US, I give it to such and such person. And for the Caribbean and South America, this person has the rights. Yeah, you can do that. You can do it by territory. You can do it in various ways. But it means then that these rights are assignable. Yeah, and you need to understand that your rights are assignable. Now, in the US and wider world, we speak to PROs, right? Performance rights organizations. And then in Trinidad, we speak to the collective management organization, the CMOs, right? But they're pretty much similar in what they do. You have a couple of rules you have to follow. You can't be a member in more than one. So if you pick PRS or BMI or ASCAP, sorry, if you pick one, then you could only be a member of either or. You can't be a member of both of them, right? You also could be a writing member, and you can be a publishing member, meaning that you have set up yourself as a publisher and you're a member in that particular organization. One of the other things is that you can use that idea of writing member and publishing member to be to your advantage, in that you can be a writing member of a particular society, but a publishing member in another. Yeah? But those things are critically important for you, because these are the organizations that will be collecting your royalties on your behalf. Yeah? A lot of times in signing up for them, you have to assign your copyrights to them, and that means you assign certain rights. And you have to look at the fine print there, because every contract is negotiable. So for instance, when you sign up with a particular agency, right? You could be signing away the right to negotiate. So let's say a product wants to use your song. Sometimes in the fine print, that organization, right? Yeah, let's say the copyright organization of Estonia or whatever, that organization, you could have given them the right to negotiate the payment on your behalf, rather than you being able to negotiate, right? And so you need to look at your membership carefully, yeah? I always tell people, before you sign any contract, make sure you get it vetted by a lawyer. It's so critically important, because it means that is one of the ways in which you earn your living, yeah? What I want to get to is in our particular market, which is Trinidad and Tobago, it's pretty small. We have what I like to call a frontier industry. We're not quite established, but we're not quite in the jungle, right? So there are opportunities there. It means then everything is not written in stone as yet. Yeah? And so there are opportunities for you to earn. But in our market, you have to take every single opportunity as an artistic person, as a creative person, to earn. And let me just give you an example. So I'm a writer. Nobody is writing, nobody is buying my songs, nobody is hearing my songs. What do I do? But you get on one of those gigging websites, listen, for 10 US, I write you a jingle including your name or the person who is celebrating the birthday name for whatever, for you to use for X amount of time, right? And the thing is, that is just there, and you never know who will click on it. And over time, you may develop, what it will do, two things for you. It will help you develop your writing, but it also earn what we call bucket, drip to the bucket kind of income. You could do the same thing on maybe YouTube or wherever you go. You could offer your services for smaller things like that, right? You could offer your services. Listen, you're in love with her. Listen, send me the name of your loved one. I'm going to write 3 verses, so for X amount of money, with their name, when you met, the experiences you all had. I'm going to include it all in there, and that is going to be, listen, forget flowers for Valentine's Day. Get a song for me, right? So you have to be creative like that. You also have to think about getting into jingles. Every aspect you can get into, try to get into it, to pull those streams of income together. Having said that, do not limit yourself to Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, as a writer, mentally don't limit yourself. Don't. The connections are easily made online. be bold. Be bold. Yeah? It's literally to the point where you can approach somebody online. Don't be a nag, or maybe nag a little bit, but don't be overbearing, right? And approach them, explain them, you make your position. And this is where maybe a little bit of business comes in, the 30-second pitch, where you learn to sell yourself and what you're doing in 30 seconds. Bam, 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 you hit them. Yeah, you give some examples. Check it out. This is what I can do. Go for it. Because at the end of the day, we have this idea that we're here and they're there. It's no longer like that. It's no longer like that. Again, back in the days of the dinosaurs, when the links I made were simply about me when I went to a couple festivals as an artist, I'd make sure and have my cards, make sure and go to the other places, other performances, talk to people, say, oh, listen, this is what I do, this is what I get up to, make connections, say anybody that passing, choose anybody, try to get onto them, try to make the links, say you want to try a collaboration, look for artists all over. There's no limit to your reach, and I have worked with Virgin Records France simply based on, hey, I know this person that know this person, and get to do remix for number one artists and them kind of things. These things just happen. It's not typical, but you have to go for it. There's literally nothing to lose, and I want to say two things before we start to get into trying to get to some of these questions, because we run out of time pretty quickly. Can you make it as a creative in Trinidad? Yes, you can. Is it easy to make it as a creative in Trinidad? Hells to the no, right? But the reality is it's going to be difficult. There are going to be days of plenty and days of famine. Your job as a creative is to work on reducing those days of famine. How do you do that? Approach your thing like a business. This is a job. One of the quickest ways to get good at anything is to practice. I always say practice makes permanent, right? Not perfect, permanent, because you could get pretty good at doing something bad, right? By practicing the wrong things. But practice makes permanent. When I was becoming a music producer, I committed to doing 15 beats per week. Now think about it. That's 60 beats per month. There must have been one good beat somewhere in there for that month. And so what it means is that you're getting muscle memory, you're practicing your craft, you're doing the work, and you're also getting good music. So commit to write X amount of songs per week. And I guarantee that a lot of them won't be worth anything, but somewhere in there are going to be gems. And the more you do it, the more gems you're going to write. Because writing a song is ultimately about this, making decisions. And the more you practice to make decisions, the better you become at making decisions. What do I mean? Does this line work here? Does this line follow that other line? Will this work in this thing? Is this melody catching? And every time you ask yourself a question, it's always a decision. And the more you practice making decisions, the better you become as a decision maker, the better you become at your craft. Okay, so now I am going to try to get to some of these questions. So let me try to, we get some hi. What's the worst bit of advice you've ever received regarding songwriting? The worst advice is this is how you write a song. Meaning there is no one way to do it. And what I would like to add to that is don't let anybody tell you your song is not a hit. I personally will tell you, I have turned away so many artists with hits because I didn't think it was a hit. And I always tell them I said, listen, I don't think this song is a hit, but that's just me. I could very well be wrong. And guess what? Several times I was wrong, right? So don't let anybody say, boy, this song is good. If you really believe you have something, work on it, get it around, right? It might be that it's really not a hit, but chances are, if I or anybody else could instantly tell you what a hit is, we'd all be rich. Yeah? Should I start song with lyrics or music? It doesn't matter. Sometimes songs come to you all together, music and lyrics, and it happens so fast that I'm ashamed sometimes when it happens like that to claim it as mine. You have to say, well, listen, this straight from the gods, there's a muse, there's inspiration, right? And then sometimes you have to fight for it, play the music, write the lyrics. Sometimes you have words written and you can't get the melody. So it doesn't matter what you do first, whichever works. When a song is, how do you know when a song is never done, but you have to make a decision to stop, right?
Just want to close the presentation.
Yeah. So we're closing the presentation here a little bit. Are we trying to close the presentation?
Yeah.
While that is happening, I am going to continue answering. So yeah, how do you know? You don't know, a song is never done. If you listen to particularly somebody who, if you listen to Bob Marley, particularly One Love, People Get Ready, you will hear so many variations of that particular song that you understand that he kept working on it over time. But at some point in time, you have to put it out, right? Even if you have to, years after that, come back in and revisit it. Put out the song. How do you avoid using the same words, themes, rhymes, and patterns? Make note. Make note. Make note of yourself and hold yourself accountable, right? What I like to do is I would challenge, for instance, let me give you an example. Challenge yourself. So when young writers come to me, I say, listen, write a song for Carnival. You're not allowed to use Bacchanal, Festival, Pretty Girl, Get On Bad, Soca Yard in Trinidad. Leave out those phrases. And what that does is kind of force you to flex your muscle and try to avoid the cliches. And that's just for soca. You can do it for any kind of music, right? And just challenge yourself, and you will find that over time, that would that would. Should I use a split sheet when I co-write? Absolutely yes. And what is a split sheet? A split sheet is really to decide who gets what. Now, music is a vibesy thing, right? And so music does be happening and we go in. And here we writing and we see before the vibes happen, have an agreement in place. And if it just happened to pop up, don't be ashamed to say, well, listen here now, before we go any further, how are we dealing with the business of this? Yeah? That will be so much cheaper than litigation. Trust me. Yeah? And there's a saying in the music industry, where there's a hit, there's a writ. Yeah? So you want to be sure that you don't fall in that. How do I find co-writers? And Anson Pro set up an international writing camp to help get writers for Nyla's latest album. How is something like that set up? How does it work? Okay, so those questions kind of similar. How do you get co-writers? You have to get out there physically and maybe via the cyber, right? Cyberspace. Locally, there are always seminars and stuff like that. Go to them. I know a lot of people that think, well, an next talk thing, where they come in to tell me, I know you will always learn something. And apart from that, if you're hearing the same thing over and over, you will meet the people who are doing the same thing that you're doing. And that is where you find your collaborators. So even if the person on stage doesn't make sense, the person next to you might. Yeah, you may discover somebody who is in the same thing or who could lift. As far as the writing camp, international writing camp is just a writing camp, right? I suspect what you mean is that they had people, international writers, and how do you get them to have interest? Again, how do you get anybody to have interest in anything? You have to have a good product. So I suspect he would say, look, this is my artist. She has had X amount of hits. She's been doing this. She's been doing that. Look at this as well. Look at, so prepare your portfolio in whatever way. Get your marketing branding game. And we also had a webinar on that, so check that one out too, right? Get that together. So that when you approach these people, they know that one, they come into somebody who's serious, they come into somebody that's worthwhile, and they will see opportunity in it. But they're not going to see opportunity if you are not prepped, right? If you're not prepped, if you're out there anyhow then, yeah? So that's how how do you charge as a songwriter? Well, again, that is really to what you could demand in the market. So I now come out here, Omari Ashby. Who is he? Well, all right, I ain't really thing, but you know, I'm willing to sell this song for X amount of money. Or listen, I write all the road march for the last how much ever years. Pay me my money, please. So that is really how it is. What the market demands. How do you suggest pitching to a writer in another territory? For example, you want to pitch a song to Gregory Porter. How do I suggest that? Have your people call his people. Well, what you do is literally that for real. If you know he has management, or contact him directly. Either way, your approach is what will get you in with these people, with anybody for that matter. So you have to be ready. Your package have to be solid. You have to put in time. So when you're making a pitch to somebody overseas, all right, I want to write for you. What is the first thing they're going to see? Maybe the words you send to them, how you approach them, if you slide in the DMs. So you have to now be persistent, consistent, but you also have to have that right package. And by right package, what do I mean? I'm referring to how you present yourself. Yeah? All right. Okay. Thanks, Maria. Maria's helping out with all the technical stuff there. Mark Daniel is looking for work. Trinidad allow. Yeah. You're right, Stephen. You can have foreign agencies cover somewhere else based on our instructions. So right. Other than these two, and they mentioned two publishing, is there other local publishing companies? Yes, there are. How do you find them? You could go to the agencies, which is CUT and TTCO and whoever else is doing that awesome and all the others they have. Go to them, find out, ask them, you're interested in getting a publisher. Who can they suggest? Who are their publishing members? Some may give you, some may not. But from that is the thread that you pull, and you will get some ideas of who's doing what. And you have to remember, again, horses for courses. It means then that you want to look for maybe, all right, you're into soca, who is the best at that? Into R&B, who is the best at that? Who's really handling hip-hop like they should locally? Who is really handling rock and roll? Who is really handling alternative? Who is really handling metal? If there's anybody like that. If there isn't, what can I do about it? Yeah? Producer-songwriter debate. That's very ticklish, and that is why it's always better to establish how you're dealing with your splits from the top, right? Because a very popular version of that is what happened in the case with Anston Douglas, Who Let the Dogs Out, and Ozzy Gurley in Canada, where Who Let the Dogs Out went on to become so big. And there was contention as to if the producer who did the music has ownership in the song as the person who brought the song to them. And that went on for years, and the money had to be held in an account, escrow, and all kind of thing, right? What you could do to avoid that very expensive lesson is do your splits from up top. So even though this person is bringing the music as the producer, you have to know what the producer is expecting, and you have to let him know what you're expecting. Because remember, you're paying the producer. So is that payment for just the creative work, or we paying, is it the buyout of the song? Do they agree to that? Or is it that I'm paying them and then they get a cut of the copyright of the song, right? A part of that writer's share, right? So you have to decide very early in the game how you're doing that split. Now, this was very quick. I was thinking, wow, it would be so long. We didn't get you half the things we wanted to get you, but I think we have a solid foundation and start. We kind of try to tackle the both ends, which is the creative side, so that we understood how we could start getting into songwriting, and we try to deal with the money side. Again, education is your best bet. And that is not a stay in school, right? What it is you're in this business, learn about this business. There's no excuse for you not to know what is copyright, what is the publisher's share, what is the writer's share, who is a publisher, how you go. There's no excuse. Check it out. There are people out there who are willing to give you free courses on copyright and intellectual property, and then some cheap courses on intellectual property and copyright. Look for them, because that is how you earn your money. That is how you make your living. Entertainment is my life. This entertainment industry, this is how I earn, right? And I pull my streams from all over. Am I a millionaire? No, I'm not. You hear that inland revenue? I'm not, right? I'm seriously not. But I'm not on the streets either. So you can be okay out there. You can make this your living. You can make this your career. You have to be serious. And by serious, I mean you dot your I's, you cross your T's. You have to put in work. So when you wake up in the morning, just like how you go to work as a writer. How many hours a day are you given to this career? Yeah? And if you find like you're writing when you want, and then you're not serious, therefore it's not your career. But you can make it your career. Don't look for the overnight success. Trust me, you won't be driving a Ferrari anytime soon, but you will get successes and you will earn money. And if you're smart, you can earn a living doing this. I want to say thank you to MusicTT, Creative TT. Thanks for having me. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for the questions. I try to do it all, but we're way over time now, right? So, like I said, Omari Ashby at Gmail. I will answer you. I promise you. I may not answer you right now, but you definitely will get a reply from me. Yeah? Thanks again, guys.